What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Walkout Network. It's your man, Ant Walker, joined by Adonis here for Unleash, the weekly panel discussion show. So, of course, got to introduce the two gentlemen that ride alongside me every single week. You know them very well, but I love them so much, we're going to have to introduce them again. First off, we've got the jack of all trades who has mastered them all, the senior editor of SureDog.com, my man, Ben Duffy. Ben, what's going on?
I'm doing really well. My stat of the week is 1.5, as in the number of kids that Ant got right now.
more like 1.95.
Yeah.
Like we are any day for this next baby. So, and of course, I'm sorry, buddy. I got to do the show. Of course, every week the panel is anchored by the man with the stats, the facts, the figures, and the numbers. He is the associate editor of SureDog.com, my good friend Jay Petrie. Jay, what's going on?
You know, I feel like I don't need a stat anymore, but I am thrilled. Okay. I love the many guests we've had over the years, you know, Matt Wells and Kristen King and Simon Simano, and name all the names we've had over the years. But Adonis may be one of my favorite guests, especially when he gets so excited that Ant's shoulder suddenly develops a condition. But in continuing with the love of this show, I do have an actual stat of the week to share. It's not about the UFC, which is surprising because the UFC had an event. A lot of people may not have seen the Bellator card that, you know, it happened and we let it happen, but that's not the point. There were some unusual results, and there was a really impressive submission by a kid named Haim Gozali, who's 20 years young. So 2 is the number of fighters Bellator has ever had that have hit multiple heel hooks, because, you know, heel hooks are not an overly common submission to be used. And this kid, he's 20 years old. He says 6 Bellator fights. He's already hit 2, which is the second guy to ever hit more than one heel hook in Bellator. And the reason why it's so impressive and taking so long to talk about this, because the first person to do it was his dad, Haim Gozali. So there you go. That's your ridiculous, crazy stat of the week.
Keeping it in the family.
Yeah, man.
Can you imagine like Thanksgiving dinner over that family? And no one has ACLs anymore in that family.
And the turkey, its legs are just all busted off and halfway across the room.
Turkey leg is just dangling off.
God, who gets the wishbone then? I have no idea.
All right, fellas. Well, let's keep things pushing. We're going to first discuss the main event of the UFC this weekend. That was Rob Font having a very dominant decision win over former champion Cody Garbrandt. So let's give that a little bit of shine here. I mean, we'll use this for our swing or miss portion of the show. And I'll start off with you, Ben. Rob Font has the best jab in the UFC currently. You swinging or missing on that?
I'm going to miss. For once in my life, I'm not going to fall victim to recency bias. He has an amazing jab. So do several other UFC fighters. Joanna Jędrzejczyk has a great jab. But no, top jab in the UFC to me right now is still Kamaru Usman. I will never forget in the Burns fight. And we're talking about Burns, a man that had been a sparring partner of his for a long time. About the second jab that landed, you could just see the surprise on his face. And it was the jab that started the ball rolling downhill. I mean, we're talking about a jab that turned the tide of and won a title fight in the UFC. When was the last time we really saw that? George St. Pierre busting people's orbitals up. But with George St. Pierre, it took 40 of them. It took about 4 jabs for Usman to change the tone of that fight. I mean, that thing is a weapon. Rob Font, top 3, top shelf for sure.
Jay, swinging or missing?
You know, it's a good question because the UFC crew, the commentary crew, was very dead set on the narrative of this being Rob Font's jab is the best jab in the business. And I, too, am missing, while I'm going to say it's up there. You know, what do you say? It's in the club. You know, it's among the most impressive because it's consistent, it's effective. The ways that Font was able to not just score it at will, but disrupt Garbrandt from doing anything he wanted to do with it was much more important, because it wasn't just a tool, it was a weapon that he was able to just totally take Garbrandt out of his flow. You know, anytime you saw Cody do that no hands down thing, Font would get out there, stick a jab in his face and back off. You know, it was a you know, that whole performance was like that you want to see good fight IQ, that's a good fight IQ fight. But I can't give it. I'm going to also miss on Duffy's claim on Usman because it's so new. It's only really shown itself the last 3 fights, Masvidal, Burns, and the Colby fight, I suppose, is when he's really effectively used it. But when I think of it, the best jab, I think of guys that have had it and have just shine and style on guys. I think obviously Max Holloway is one of my top guys, but Robert Whittaker, it's the underheralded success. It's how he completely fried Darren Till in their fight and made Darren Till just throw wild nothing shots while Whittaker was way out of the way. So I'm going to give it to some of those guys, but Font, man, he's right up there. It's a smart jab, and that's what I like about it. It's not just a power jab like a Donald Cerrone who will try and knock people off their feet. It's an intelligent game plan changing jab. So I'm all in favor of that jab. I think Matt Hunter would approve too.
Yeah.
If we're listening to the UFC booth, we have to wonder if we have to include wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, and now pizza delivery as the most important components, arts, to MMA.
Yeah, it's because he's able to hold his right hand up to guard himself because it simulates the pizza hold.
Yep. That's it.
So it's a very important skill. I think when we're talking about the best jab, best is the word that needs a little more clear definition, because a jab is such a versatile tool. When you talk about Usman, you're talking about, at least in my opinion, and I'm sure Ben just shared this opinion as well, just clear destruction, just a weapon of massive damage. But then when you talk about Max Holloway and Robert Whittaker, I mean, just very effective jabs in making sure everything else can land, to where everything starts off with that jab, and now that jab sets up the hook, it sets up the right hand, it sets up the body shots, it sets up everything else behind it. Rob Font might have displayed, at least to recent memory, the best jab that wasn't necessarily to damage, it wasn't necessarily to set strikes up, but just to interfere with whatever Cody wanted to do. And I know that, and Jay, I know this is something you alluded to as far as just interrupting Garbrandt's game plan. I think that might be what Rob Font displayed Saturday might be the best example we have recently of a jab doing that since GSP versus Koscheck too. Which another thing that you two gentlemen alluded to. So I like to say, I guess I'm in the middle here. Like if we're talking about a jab that's going to disrupt game plans and give you something extra to think about on your way to trying to have your own success, yes, Rob Font has the best, or at least he displayed the best Saturday. But overall, I'd probably rather have the Usman jab, because damn, that thing is devastating.
Well,
that's
it's
like
a game-changing jab. That's the jab that makes you question your life decisions. That's not just the one that makes you stop throwing a punch. It's the one that makes you stop throwing all the punches.
It's like, wow, do I want to be a fucking fighter? Like when you feel that one. Yeah, man. So I mean, either way, we're talking about the elite. I mean, a jab is such an underutilized, Jose Aldo. How can we have this conversation about effective jabs in MMA without talking about Jose Aldo? Like, man, he beat Frankie Edgar with just his jab in that rematch. Like, with just his jab.
Just his jab, and maybe the single greatest display of takedown defense in a fight ever.
Absolutely.
Like,
pretty spectacular.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're talking about rarefied air, and Rob Font certainly belongs in that conversation. But best, I don't know. But, man, if you're not the best, I'll take second, I'll take third, I'll take fourth, I'll take fifth. And I would say the best jab in the bantamweight division. I think he owns that title at 135. Even Dillashaw, who is a very versatile striker, a lot of his stuff is not set up so beautifully behind a jab. He's got an array of things he sets up with. But Rob Font, best with the jab at bantamweight.
So you're saying you want to see Rob Font fight Jose Aldo?
I absolutely would love to see that.
You might see him fight TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah,
very well might.
You just might. All right, fellas. Well, let's keep things pushing a little bit here. And while we're on that subject of potentially, fighting for a title here, do you think that Rob Font punched his ticket, or CARLA or ESPARZA, if you had to choose?
I feel like this one's a lot simpler than some of our other questions like this, because Rob Font displayed spectacular skill. He put himself in the conversation, whereas I called it before, to bring out my inner Tyler Treese and talk about chaos in division and just throw things and just let the chips fall where they may, like Tachi Palace Fights did that one time, but that didn't work out. But it's got to be ESPARZA. And it has to be ESPARZA for one reason, because there's the story, there's the oh, that's right, I have a finish over the current champion dynamic that goes there. That is the kind of fight that makes Rose go, I want to get that one back. I'm going to call it again, and you can mark it on what will be May 25th. CARLA ESPARZA is going to be the champion. She's going to beat Rose Namajunas. And we're going to have Joanna Jędrzejczyk as the champion in 2022 again. And then we're going to probably have to go all the way back around. Maybe Willie Zhang gets back in the conversation, and Jessica Andrade drops back down. We have chaos, and I'm here for it.
Yes. Thank you for that, Tyler. Thank you. I think Adonis he
disagrees.
He's not pleased with your take, Jay. Come here, buddy. All right, guess not. He cries and he runs to the TV, and now he's just staring at me blankly. This is welcome to Unleashed. All right, Ben, let me know, man, what you think on this. Rob Font or CARLA ESPARZA, who gets the title shot?
This would be a no-brainer for ESPARZA, just because of the traffic jam at bantamweight. I mean, they still very well. One, Aljamain Sterling is on the shelf with neck surgery. He's not going to be back until the fall. He comes back. There's every possibility that they'll rematch him with Peter Yan. And hey, even I, who hate immediate title rematches, the one exception is when there's a controversy in the first fight. There was controversy. I don't hate that. If they don't do that, they just rebooked Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. The winner of that fight is probably the one guy that has a claim on getting ahead of Font in line. So there's every possibility that Font has to wait for 2 more title fights before he gets his shot. I mean, the question in my mind is whether he wants to take another fight on his own just to, keep his tools sharp and pick up another paycheck. None of that is his fault. But it should be ESPARZA for all the reasons Jay said. The storyline is there. There's nothing to tell you that we need to see Zhang versus Namajunas again immediately. But the fact that the UFC is dragging its feet and explicitly said today that, yeah, we're still deciding, whether to do ESPARZA or Zhang. If they're even thinking about it, they're looking for excuses to get Zhang in there. Their other Chinese strawweight cash cow got embarrassed on Saturday. They have a gigantic PI in China that is empty or full, depending on the fortunes of Chinese MMA.
Yeah, you couldn't have said that any better, Ben. I mean, not only did the second, I think number 2 ranked, I think she was the second ranked strawweight in the division, lost to ESPARZA over the weekend. Not only that, the fighters coming out of the UFC PI have in China have not done very well. I mean, they have been getting steamrolled for the most part, and
giant flaws in their game.
Huge gaping holes in their game. And I think if we saw success outside of Weili Zhang from the Chinese UFC fighters, there wouldn't be this push to put her back in.
That's a good point.
Because then you'd have if the young lady had defeated ESPARZA over the weekend,
title shot.
Yeah, title shot. There it is. So you've preserved the Chinese market that they've tried to cultivate for so long, and they've put a lot of time and expense into. And someone that actually deserved it would have been in there. So it's the best of both worlds. Now it's like this position. Okay, do we do the fight that makes sense, or do we do the fight that makes sense for China? And that's really the question here. But also at the same time, like this should be a no-brainer, not only for the fact that ESPARZA deserves the title shot, but for the fact that are you going to once again bury a champion, potentially having them lose 2 in a row to the person that snatched the belt from them? I mean, we just got finished talking about the destruction that Rob Font laid on Cody Garbrandt, someone who never recovered from what TJ Dillashaw did to him twice in a row. Are we going to do that with Weili Zhang now? And you're gonna hold the hopes of your business interests in this huge market on that flimsy premise, it just doesn't seem very intelligent to me. Let's have Weili rebuild herself. And it's not like we're getting a fight that isn't sellable, that doesn't have any sizzle to it. I mean, CARLA ESPARZA was the first champion in that division and defeated the current champion to get there. It sells itself, and they both have made significant changes to their game in the time since the year since. Why are we even talking about this, fellas?
Because the UFC sometimes is so short-sighted. What is the saying? It steps over dollars to pick up pennies. I mean, you'll see, and again, this is no slight to the fighters of this region, but the UFC keeps pulling in these Chinese fighters that are virtually unheralded with extremely gaudy records over very flimsy competition. As somebody who works with guys on Fight Finder, to try and piece together the records of these guys is, wait, how is that guy 26-2? Did he beat, like, the wooden training dummy out back? What is this? What has he been doing to get there? And unfortunately, I think we're on a really long losing streak for Chinese fighters in the UFC. I mean, at least off the top of my head, the last 5 have lost. And that's just from the last couple events. And it's I don't know if it's I think the UFC even called it the Chinese invasion when Weili Zhang took over. And it's so weird to see that Rose head kicked her. Rose is going to. I can't believe that they're going to make Rose have to beat another champion twice in a row to hold the belt, because they did that once. Remember, she cold cocked Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She smoked her in the first round, and the UFC's like, well, I don't know. Maybe she didn't prove herself. Maybe it was a fluke, and she beat the brakes off you over 5 rounds. And here we go again. I think this would do a disservice to Chinese MMA as a whole if they put Weili Zhang up there instead of CARLA ESPARZA, because if Weili Zhang loses, it's just the UFC loves to fast track. I say this all the time. Loves to fast track former champions. They have a very easy track to get back up there. Anthony Pettis, he lost a title fight, moved the division, and got a title fight. Jose Aldo, how many has he gotten? And you can Frankie Edgar. Then it goes on. But if you start losing a bunch of them in a row, it's a really hard sell unless you're rear eye favor. So it's kind of a tough situation the UFC is putting themselves into.
Absolutely agreed. So hopefully cooler heads will prevail and they'll do something that's remotely intelligent this time. Doubt it though. Doubt it. All right. So let's move things along here. The women's featherweight division had itself a split decision in favor of Norma Dumont over Felicia Spencer. Is this going to breathe new life in the division, or are we putting the nail in the coffin, fellas?
My favorite thing of the whole process is that one of the very first things Norma Dumont said is, I'm thinking of moving back down to bantamweight. Like, okay, and I think I said this on Twitter, which, by the way, all 3 Sherdog scoring judges scored the fight for Spencer, but I can understand Norma Dumont getting the nod. But you want to be the champion one day as a professional fighter. Your goal is to get a title shot. Your goal is to beat the contenders, whomever they may be, and get the title shot to fight your opponent and try and get the championship. Pretty easy premise. I'm not really explaining anything complicated here. Norma Dumont is probably the next person to fight for the title, who would be Amanda Nunes. Instead, her plan is to drop down to 135, where she'll have to win 5 fights to fight Amanda Nunes. What? I understand. I think it was Drake Riggs, of all people, who was explaining, well, she wants to get more experience, wants to whatever. Do you really think 5 more fights is going to help you prepare for Amanda Nunes?
Prepare for Nunes's retirement, maybe, but
not only that, she barely got down to bantamweight, and by barely I mean she failed by 5 pounds and got by Ashley Evans Smith. Do you really think that somebody who had a hard time getting by Ashley Evans Smith is going to be able to get up and get past Rocky Pennington or Holly Holm or other names in the division. Why? You have a title shot. You can make $40,000 or $35,000 in Reebok bucks. Take it. It's your biggest payday. You're not going to get your way up the division. 135 is a very bizarre and difficult division to parse. But what do I know? I'm just a guy.
You got. I mean, the problem with 135 is like 39-year-old Holly Holm was just standing there in her full goalie outfit, mask and stick, just guarding that goal.
What she did to Randy Aldana was incredible.
Yep.
And that's what she'll do to everybody in the division.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a dismal state of affairs, and it always has been. It is just now coming to a head. I'm honestly surprised that the quote unquote division lasted this long. I think the deciding factor is going to be what Amanda Nunes feels like doing. She's got an upcoming date with Juliana Pena, and
Juliana Pena and her 1 fight winning streak.
You have my sympathies.
Who I guess Nunes has been ducking for years now, apparently. It's like however she feels after that fight. Let's say she goes out there and has the sort of performance she did against Megan Anderson, smokes her in the first minute of the fight. Yeah, she might want another payday. So I'll go ahead and fight this Norma Dumont chick. I'll go ahead and do that, and and replicate that paycheck. Fine. But if she doesn't feel like it, the division goes away. It's just that simple. There's no one else left. That's it.
I agree. And I mean, Amanda Nunes comes off as kind of like a humble and affable, champion, but she is clearly concerned with greatness, as she should be. I mean, you don't nickname yourself the Lioness and carry both your belts to every press conference in the way she kind of does if you don't have a sense of your own greatness. There are record book things for the taking if she wants to try to defend each of these titles a couple more times. And I'm sure she's well aware of that. Like, seriously, she might be the only thing keeping that division alive. If she just said, I'm not going to defend 145 anymore, and would they have made Dumont versus Spencer for the vacant title, or would they just have said back to Invicta?
Yeah, they would have let that go. I mean, because Nunes is a bankable star, and she's more bankable with 2 belts on her shoulders. Like that's really it. So do you want to promote the incredibly dominant bantamweight division champion, which very sellable, or do you want to promote the incredibly dominant bantamweight and featherweight champion, who featherweight is kind of a hobby that you do from time to time? Like, you just smash somebody there really quick, and then you go back down to 135 where your true tests are waiting for you, if you want to call them that even. So this is Nunes's world, and she decides whether it lives or it dies. All right, so fellas, let's keep things pushing. Speaking of dominance in the featherweight division, Cris Cyborg had absolute, just pure destruction laid down upon a friend of the show, Leslie Smith. After knocking out Smith, do you think that Cyborg ever loses inside of Bellator's cage?
The only possibility is that Kayla Harrison goes keto. She keeps saying she can make 145. If she can, I still heavily favor Nunes. I mean, if Nunes and Harrison fought, say, at the end of this year, after Harrison took one-off fight to make sure she can make 145, I would still have Nunes by first round knockout. But Harrison is almost the only person left who has a weapon that I would like to see Nunes have to deal with. That's about it.
And it must, I mean, it has to burn for every organization to see Kayla Harrison so successful in PFL, because she's getting $1 million just in that prize money. Like, she also, this is something that kind of flew under the radar, which I don't know why, because she was very public about it, but people seem to forget about. She's also getting paid to fight in addition to the prize money.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're right.
It sticks with me that, Lewis Taylor 2 years ago said this was easily my best paid year ever before I won the $1 million prize. Like, I've been getting paid good money for the regular season and then incrementally for the playoff fights.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because like Kayla Harrison, say she goes to the UFC, they'll probably have to break open the piggy bank, but maybe what, 6 figures, maybe $100,000 for the fight, maybe 100 and 100. That still pales in comparison to what she made to fight ludicrously tougher competition. All respect in the world to the women that have fought Kayla Harrison, but there's a reason why those fighters are not in the UFC right now. It's just some of them were and aren't anymore, and that's really too bad, because she would have posed a challenge to Cyborg, but unless Harrison will probably end up in the UFC if there's Amanda Nunes. If there isn't Amanda Nunes at 145, there's nothing for her to do, because she has made 145 before when she went to Invicta, and she crushed Courtney King. It was one of those real bloody mess of fights, like I don't know, like CARLA ESPARZA, Yang Jianan, one of those fights that happened not long ago. It was just a bloody, I'm going to take you down, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it until you finally have your face fall off, like a Hellraiser movie. Look at the top 10 of women's featherweight. Julia Budd is far and away the best featherweight not named Cris Cyborg on the roster. What happened in that fight?
She toyed with her.
The one thing that I thought I actually took Julia Budd on a flyer. I think she was like 4-1 or something like that, because she had the strength to fight back, and that didn't happen. Kat Zingano. Unless Kat Zingano's toe jams in Cyborg's eye, or unless Cyborg blows out an ACL, like there's more of a likelihood that, say, Felicia Spencer type of elbow that cuts her up and forces a stoppage than an actual Amanda Bell to beat her. And hey, good for Cyborg, man. If she can keep pulling off wins and looking good, hey, more power to her, because it's not going to get any harder. And I say that with love and respect to Leslie Smith. It's not going to get any more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's we kind of know what to expect from Cyborg at this point, and it's just no one that's even on the horizon that seems to have an inkling of what's going to be necessary to defeat her. And at this point, it's going to take, and I think same thing with Nunes in the UFC. Either they meet each other again somehow, under what banner, who knows, or whatever the case may be.
Ryzen. Oh wait, Fight Circus.
Fight Circus, actually, yes. And
they fight with short swords and shields.
Actually, I'd like to see them tag team against maybe like 30 little people. That's
I thought you were going to say like a Stephen Panda Banks, like a 300-pound dude.
No, I just want to see more little people, and they're just like punching down and just soccer kicking and stuff. That's actually what I'd like to see. But I mean, unless it's going to take like a hot prospect to rise up through Bellator while Cyborg has the father time decline. Those are the only things that are going to do it. And even then, it's asking a lot, because she's probably going to retire before that really happens.
And nobody's going to rise up, because any woman of that size who shows any spark of life at all is on the radar immediately. I mean, yes. I remember being like, oh man, Jessie Mealy is 4-0. Could she be the one? Like, nope, she's not the one. But just by the fact that she was, 5'9", kind of like big framed woman who had a little bit of skill, she was immediately on the radar. It was the same thing I thought about Megan Anderson when she was 4-0.
Exactly what I'm about to say. Like, the buzz around Megan Anderson when she first got to Invicta and scored one win, the buzz around her was tremendous. And that's what happens to everyone who within that weight range. I mean, before Kayla Harrison even stepped into PFL, the question was, could she make 145?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a huge question mark before she even thought, not even thought, before she signed her first contract. That was a question that was being asked. So, all right, fellas. So now it's time to move things along and break out your seasoning salt, break out the butter, break out the paprika, break out whatever seasonings tickle your fancy, because it's time to ask the age-old question: how's tastes my crow? Ben, I'm going to begin with you. How's Taste My Crow?
Oh, man. There were a lot of fights that I picked dead wrong here. There's sometimes when I get a fight wrong and I'm kind of grouchy about it, like, I should have seen that coming. And there are other times when, hey, I'm happy to be wrong. I was happy to be wrong about Court McGee versus Claudio Silva. And here's the reason. I mean, Court McGee had every appearance leading into this of being just a completely shot fighter. Just the kind of guy that you probably weren't going to finish him because toughness is really, really the last thing to go. But he just, in his recent losses, he hadn't shown any kind of spark of life. It's not just that he lost, it's that there wasn't any individual moment where I even thought, hey, Court McGee's about to take over this fight, like something could happen here. It was just, it's been a death march for about 2 years now. And against Silva, it isn't just that he won, he appeared to have turned back the clock. And obviously that's against a guy who's even older than he is in Silva. But all of a sudden, like, he looked quicker. He was more aggressive. He's been sorely lacking in aggression recently. Like in his losses, it's just like he's been waiting for his opponent to happen to him. And I'm not saying Court McGee is back, but even that Court McGee that we saw on Saturday could give us a few more entertaining fights, pick up a few more checks on his way out. I've got love for the guy just because I saw him on the way up in the local Utah scene, because I lived there at the time and I saw people like him and Steve Seiler when nobody knew who the hell they were. And he's obviously a great story. I won't reiterate it because the UFC will happily tell you all about it. But yeah, happy to be eating crow on behalf of one Court McGee today.
All right, very good pick there, Jay. Got to ask you now. How's Taste My Crow?
Well, in terms of my very, very rare chest puffery moments this 2021 season, I did exceed the rest of the Short Dog staff on my picks. So I will take that one win and I will put it up on the fridge because I don't get many of them. I have been in the basement for quite a while. However, there was one pick that, I fully agree on the Court McGee. I thought the Court McGee was, the book was written, the time was up, Father Time had diminished him, but apparently Father Time had diminished Claudio Silva even more. But my real crow moment was that I did not see a way that Norma Dumont would be able to win the fight. And while I disagree that she won the fight, she made the fight close enough where that 2 of 3 judges scored the fight for Norma Dumont over Felicia Spencer. I thought the one asset that Dumont has had to beat some of her opponents over the years, because her early competition has not been particularly sparkling. I believe she took a majority decision over the girl that Kayla Harrison just destroyed in like a minute and a half a couple days ago. So it wasn't really great what she had done to get there, but she was able to impose her size and strength to just push and get what she needed to get done and steal the scorecard. Like, a majority decision is about as close as you could possibly get when one judge scores at a draw. And yet I looked at this fight and I thought, okay, she can't do that to Felicia Spencer. She has better hands, but Felicia Spencer has better everything else and has the ability to get the fight where she wants it. And I always think of that, do you go with the grappler or do you go with a savvy striker? I want to go with the grappler because the grappler has the ability to at least theoretically control where the fight takes place. If they want it to stay upright, they can let it there. But if they have the ability to take the fight down, they can take advantage of that and do it. Well, I think she forgot that she could take Norma Dumont down because it didn't really happen. The attempts didn't even come very often. There were a couple body locks at the very beginning, and maybe she felt strength and went, "Ooh, there's some more resistance here than I thought." And they decided, I'm not going to do the one thing that got me to the dance here. I'm not going to try and choke you out like I've done to so many opponents. I'm going to just kind of, meander.
Question mark kicks.
Yeah, and the hook kick that was actually she had a good hook kick. I give her some props. She had some really impressive kicks, and again, I thought she won the fight. But no, I didn't have Norma Dumont amounting to much, and now she's knocking on the door of like a top 50 bantamweight fight or a title fight at featherweight. I don't know. I don't know which makes more sense. Fight and get a paycheck that'll be triple what you ever would make, or fight an unranked opponent at bantamweight and hope that you can make your way up there to run into an Aspen lad and go, oh, wait, she's way better than me. I guess I'm out of title contention forever. But I don't want to digress any further. I didn't expect that Felicia Spencer was going to lose that fight.
All right. Well, my house takes my crow moment is courtesy of Valerie Loureda. When Bellator has their hooks into a young fighter that shows some promise, we're pretty much guaranteed a clear path of absolute tomato cans on the way to some level of legitimacy in fights. You think about Michael Venom Page, his buildup that finally got him to the Paul Daly fight, which in turn led to the Douglas Lima fight. So we're thinking along that trajectory. And I think they've learned their lessons from Aaron Pico, like just pushing someone too hard. So when you match a 2-1 fighter against a 3-0 fighter, like, all right, we kind of know what we're going to get here, and expect Loureda to do something wild and finish the fight. But didn't quite happen that way. Hannah Guy did not understand that she was supposed to lose that night, and she decided to do everything but. And I think we got to see what regional MMA looks like a lot of times. I wasn't in such an uproar about this, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later on and during the speedback here, but I wasn't so upset about this and Loreda's washed or overrated and all that. She is an inexperienced fighter, and she was faced with about a bad style matchup. And her fight IQ is clearly not what it should be. So this was the perfect storm of inexperience to go ahead and stifle her progress, but still surprising because this is Bellator. Like, this is where the inexperience find all the tomato cans they need to build themselves up. So Crow's tasting pretty good right now. All right, fellas. So with that, I think it's time to move into the best title segment in all of media history, and that is I'm Not Surprised, Mr. Falcons. This is where we share what surprised us or ironically did not over the course of the past week. I'll start with you, Ben. What's your I'm Not Surprised, Mr. Falcons moment this week?
Well, I am not a professional criminal. You know, that this may come as a surprise to you.
Just an amateur one.
If I were a professional criminal, and if I were, say, a car thief by trade, I cannot imagine a worse nightmare in my professional criminal life than working to jack a car only to find Derrick Lewis walking towards it, like with a little key clicker, like pressing the button. But that is what a man found last Sunday. And the reason this is near to my heart is that I spent most of last week in fairly close proximity to Derrick Lewis. In fact, on Sunday, the day that this happened, I was in the actual Fury cage with him, snapping photos of him as he like gave away a boombox with like Trey the Truth and Bun B. It was a pretty cool moment. Anyway, within hours of that, he caught somebody trying to steal his car, allegedly, and he dispensed some Derrick Lewis justice on him. The best thing is that he posted a video of it to his Instagram, which he then took down, I think, because probably there is legal action pending. But he said, "Mofo picked right/wrong car to break into. He's okay. Hashtag blame Herb Dean." But the jokes were not finished, because the official statement from the Houston Police Department is, Mr. Lewis says he went over to the suspect, struck him, placed him onto the ground until the police arrived. That's the nicest way to put it. So, Derrick Lewis learning how to make guacamole out of a human being up here in these streets of Houston. So, all you would-be carjackers out there, look around, read the room, read the lot, before you get out like your little Slim Jim thing and try to jimmy that door. That's all I got.
Just imagine if he tried to jack Anthony Smith's car, though.
I mean, like, the criminals have been very bold with MMA fighters. So John Jones not too long ago was caught on camera chasing someone away from his car with a shotgun in his garage. With the guy that like broke into Justin Gaethje's place to stole a bike or something. Like, dudes have been real bold. Like, Derrick Lewis standing up for justice. I like it.
But see, like, Derrick Lewis would probably get tired of beating your ass at some point. I can't imagine trying to steal Justin Gaethje's bike. Like, what bike is worth your life? Jesus Christ.
All right. Well, Jay, what's your I'm not surprised Mr. Falcons moment this week?
You know, I wish I had a fun criminal story. Some of the criminal stories recently have been very sad, so I don't want to talk about those. You can read about them anywhere that you read MMA news. Instead, I'll witness something that felt criminal inside the cage. And before I rip into this, I want to point out that Sherdog contributor Lev Pisarsky wrote an opinion column that came out on Monday about this result. It was the co-main event of Invicta FC 44, aka Invicta on AXS TV. It was the strawweight. It was the atomweight championship fight between Alicia Zappitella, a half pint as people know her, and Jessica Correa Del Boni. And here's the reason why it was criminal. Obviously, you can see where I'm going with this. Del Boni won the fight. Like, period. The end. Not really a dispute. It's not like you go, oh, those are really close rounds. I could see how they might give it to someone else. Del Boni shut down Zappitella. Zappitella is for those unfamiliar, is a punches and bunches, swarm you and then take you down and hit you. She's 4'11", and she's like a little tiny tornado. Too bad that nickname's already taken. And she couldn't do that. Del Boni stood still, just wrecked her with leg kicks and outstruck her across the board. She stuffed. I don't believe Zappitella took her down one time in the whole fight. I don't think there was an official success, which is something that happens with Zappitella. She gets you down. She's a very strong, low center of gravity wrestler. And Del Boni just got like Kansas City Screwjob is the type of level of, are we looking at the same fight here? And the reason also why this was so troubling is we saw it unfold in real time, because Kansas is one of those very few states, like certain European federations, where there's open scoring in effect, which means at the end of the round, the official scores are posted and the fighters are made aware if they'd like to be. And the broadcast and the public and the people watching all know what the scores are. So we could see judges score the first two rounds for Zappitella that she clearly lost. Like it's just not close. Nobody that I know that watched this fight, and this is anecdotal, I'm sure, but I scoured MMA Twitter at the time for those watching Invicta in that Invicta event. Just no way. There's no way that Zappitella won the fight, and yet she is now the champion. And in doing so, pushed away the rightful challenger and the rightful champion. And it's a bad look to see it. It felt to me like a slow moving car crash. You can watch it and it's happening and there's nothing you can do to stop it, as suddenly Zappitella's up 3 rounds in the scorecards when she should be down 3 rounds in the scorecards. So I don't know who to be mad at, because otherwise it's obviously the judges that scored this fight, because I'm not upset at the commission or David Rohrbach or any of those guys, because it's not their fault. But I don't know. There needs to be some sort of accountability, explanation, investigation when things are so clearly wrong that this is wrong, that something should happen. And I don't say that just to some armchair judge or whatever. I've been professionally scoring fights and running play-by-plays for 2 years now, consistently watching every bit of footage of every bit of fight professionally. I don't mean just watching fights for the past 20 years. So I know how to score a fight and what judges look for and how to evaluate the criteria as it stands. I know the duration, dominance, and damage and will impact. And it's just, when fights get scored that wrong, you just wish that something would happen. And I just wish that something would happen here, because this is just bad.
Yeah.
And if I may, I actually disagree with you just a little bit. For one, I was the one who caught the edit on Lev's excellent op-ed. Mm-hmm. So let me add a bit of detail. It was unanimous on MMAdecisions.com. Media and fans alike, 100% in favor of Del Boni, and 85% of them gave Del Boni either all 5 rounds or 4 rounds.
I think I gave her 4.5, but yeah. 4, yeah.
But it is a little bit the commission's fault, because the 2 judges that scored it in favor of Zappitella are Kansas City locals that do almost Invicta and nothing else.
Oh.
These guys are known problems, and both of them have been on the wrong end of split decisions before.
Ooh.
Like, this is a Kansas problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is unfortunately, and it's not. I mean, Kansas, it seems to be a little worse than a lot of other jurisdictions, but it's just a problem overall in the sport that every single event that we talk about, there's at least one scorecard that's like, wow, this is crazy, you know. And I mean, and the joke is, how many of those do you get per event? And what's not so funny is how many times does the wrong person win? So all too common in the sport, unfortunately. And this is not going to be the last time, and it certainly wasn't the first time that a wayward set of scorecards became the focus of a segment on the show. All right, so I'm not surprised at Mr. Falcon's moment comes courtesy of Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia, and simply because I'm surprised and I'm not surprised at the same time. So it get a double whammy. I was going to go with Tyron Woodley's turn as a video vixen, but it's not really as interesting to me as this. Diego Sanchez suddenly announced the firing of Josh Fabia, saying that, you know, he was done with him, and there was also a power of attorney that was dissolved. That was the part that did surprise me. That certainly was a surprise. Typically when a goofball, a clown, a charlatan, a scam artist, and a bitch like Joshua Fabia gets his hooks into someone, you don't see the victim of this normally free themselves. And we were hearing reports of Diego, you know, excommunicating himself from family members to quote unquote keep his loyalty to Fabia. Well, that loyalty didn't stretch very far, and this is the part that is not a surprise. Joshua Fabia has now gone on his own rant in the media to discredit Diego Sanchez. It's sounding like a true scorn lover, and just all around garbage human being who has not an ounce of integrity in his bitch ass soul. This fool has gone on to talk about Diego's finances, talk about his divorce, to claim that he, in fact, was the one that was being taken advantage of. I mean, this is typical behavior of abusers and, you know, people who prey upon the weak or prey upon the vulnerable, I should say. The idea that you can then blame the victim for your misdeeds. Man, someone needs to kick this guy's ass. Please let it be me. Campbell, come on, book me, man. Book me. Call up Joshua. Call me. You got my number, Campbell. Make it happen. I'll go in there and put some work on this fool. Somebody needs to rearrange his face, and I'd love to be the one to do it.
I guarantee it will be covered in Sherdog. You complain about that, Campbell.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it'll definitely be on Body Lock as well. And I'm sure we can make an MMA on point segment out of it too. So Campbell,
one time an asshole got what was coming to him. That's the title of the video.
There you go. Yeah.
Got to do it, you know, in the style of the
it's
site.
like the top 10 punches I landed on Fabia's face. Campbell, call me. We can do this. We can do this. All right. So we're gonna move things along now to the speed bag. So let me go ahead, get the clock set. I feel like I forgot to set the clock properly from before. Remember last week where I like messed it up? So I think I did that again, but it's all good because we made it work then. We'll make it work now. You gentlemen will have 10 seconds to answer these questions. I will begin with you, Jay. What do you think of the UFC send-off retirement videos for Alan Jouban and Paul Felder?
Man, I got a lot of guff for my take on this, but I just want the UFC to be consistent and give it to every fighter that deserves it.
All right. And oh wow, what reset? There we go. And Ben.
I agree. It was a fantastic gesture. I wish they would do this for other deserving fighters.
All right, absolutely. Okay.
Where's Diego's?
Yeah. All right. Ben, I will begin with you on this next question. Did Bellator make a mistake pushing Valerie Loureda this hard, this early?
I'm not sure. I mean, that presupposes that she had championship potential. She might just be Anna Kournikova. Get what you can out of her. Clicks,
All right. Okay, Jay.
Yeah, I never understood the Loureda hype train. The data showed that she wasn't a spectacular Taekwondo fighter. I actually pick Hannah Guy to win this fight.
No, okay. All right, and final question, Jay, you'll start this one off as well. Austin Vanderford is now 11-0 after his win on Friday. What will it take for him to be regarded higher than his wife, Paige Van Zandt?
He has to win his season of Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, didn't expect that one. All right, Ben.
I think just the passage of time, he has great potential. I mean, in a couple of years, like he'll be like side A.
Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to switch the clock over to 30 seconds. This is where I will answer all questions in succession, and the clock will begin after reading the first question. What do you think of the UFC send-off retirement videos for Alan Jouban and Paul Felder? Beautiful. Just wish Pettis, Woodley, JDS, Overeem, Sanchez. Like, there are so many fighters that were deserving that have been snubbed. But hey, at least those guys got some shine, so I'm okay with it. And I don't think Bellator made a big mistake pushing Loureda this hard. Like, this is what she's there to appeal to a particular demographic, and she does that. Same thing with Austin Vanderford and Paige Van Zandt. This is appealing to a different sort of fan. Vanderford will never quite overtake his wife. So there we go. Yeah, so let's keep things pushing toward the preview of nothing, because there are no major fights going on this weekend. No UFC event, no Bellator. What are you going to do instead of watching fights?
Man, I needed this moment. First of all, I'd like to say that Austin Vanderford has already far surpassed Paige Van Zandt's MMA win record by I think he's up. I think he has 11 wins and she has 8. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. Sweet, sweet freedom, because usually what happens is UFC goes off for one weekend, but Bellator's in town and we got to do Bellator. Or, hey, there's a Rising card. We got to stay up until 4 a.m. and then have an hour intermission to cover, and on and on and on. I don't believe there's any major event this weekend. There's a Combats Americas show, but it starts at 12:30 in the morning, and I just can't. No, sorry. I like Combats as far as I can throw it, but I don't speak Spanish, and I'm not staying up late, because that means I'd have to go to bed at 2 or 3 after a full day of work covering MMA. It just isn't going to happen. But there's been this show I've been watching, and it's a new show on Hulu, and I'm very, very happy to have finally sat down and watched it. And it's called MODOK. And for Marvel fans that appreciate the deep cuts of the world, I don't want to give anything away because there's a lot of things to give away. It felt, Kevin Feige, the head of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is a guy who loved Marvel going into these movies, and you can tell. It isn't like the Zack Snyders of the DC universe, where you go, okay, they're making it to churn out movies and compete and whatever. It's Kevin is the kind of guy who will do it, and he wants to do it justice. And MODOK is that turned up to 11. Not only does it have Patton Oswalt, who is an eternal comics fan, who he breathes this stuff, so he can, what he's saying, and when he's riffing on Marvel stuff, that's from up here. That's not from a script or anything like that. It's a match made in heaven. It's an animated claymation-y kind of a Robot Chicken-esque mixed with CGI and whatnot, and it's exceptional. It has the deep cuts that I, as a guy who grew up on Marvel and X-Men and all that, love. It has the great characters, some really famous voice actors that show up out of nowhere, and it's very funny. It's an R-rated comedy, so it's very violent, and there's some really horrific, wonderful deaths, but it's got a depth that I didn't see coming, and seeing villains that, oh God, I don't want to spoil anything. Seeing some really obscure villains that you see in the comics for like a page or two, be like, God, I wonder what happened to that guy. Make an appearance in the show and do something very interesting. It felt like a love letter to Marvel, and I'm really happy to enjoy that. So if anybody watching and also you two want to see a good Marvel product that's easily digestible, like 10 episodes, 20 minutes a pop, you could do much worse. I mean, you'd have to go, like, if you want to get like a better show, you go to like Ozark, but I don't think I've ever heard of that. But otherwise, MODOK is my jam right now.
Yeah, I MODOK is on my queue in Hulu, so I'm definitely checking that out. I just finished Invincible, which on Amazon, which was fantastic. I can't wait for the second season of that. And actually, my wife and I, we just finished Lovecraft Country.
Oh, that's great too.
Yeah, okay, that was
so good.
That was that was incredible, man. Yeah, I love that show. So so now I gotta hunt for a new show to binge. Like MODOK, it's like the 20-minute episodes, like I'll breeze through that.
Oh, you'll burn through it in a day.
Yeah, I'll burn through that in no time, man. So I mean, this weekend for me is most likely going to be all about baby stuff. I'll be very surprised if my daughter is not born by this weekend. I'll be very surprised. So that's going to be my weekend. And what a fantastic weekend. No fights that are be conflicting. I won't be like leaning over as my wife is in labor to watch the main event.
Your phone on is your.
Yeah, I won't guilt trip my daughter like I guilt trip my son about the fights that I missed because of his birth. So, yeah, baby girl, this is the right time. Good job. So I'm super dad this weekend. Ben, what are you doing without a fight?
Well, I'm about to pick a fight with my lawn. I live in Houston. It is a subtropical climate. The problem that happens in Houston is it will rain for so many days in a row, and then it's so humid that it doesn't even dry to the point that you can mow your lawn. So you'll go like 2 or 3 weeks where you literally can't mow your lawn. You'll just be kicking mud all over the place and destroying your lawnmower. My lawn has reached what I call the Vitor stage, where my lawn looks like Vitor Belfort in 2013 when he tried to have 3 different haircuts at the same time, because there's parts of my lawn that are still bald, parts that are 3 feet tall and got flowers growing out of them, and then parts that just look like regular grass, only like angry and diagonal. So I'm going to have a fight with Vitor lawn this weekend.
Spin kick the grass blades.
Oh,
all right.
I'm trying to go with some PRT riff, but I can't think of anything.
Yeah. Oh man. So I guess that's going to do it for this edition of Unleashed. Otherwise, we're just going to devolve into complete buffoonery, which we've done before. So wouldn't be past us, but so much. But I'm feeling real classy today. So we probably should end it here. Thank you, Jay and Ben, every week for holding it down, doing what you do. You can find their work on sherdog.com. So click on that site and check out some of their op-eds and their other pieces about matchmaking, whatnot. Excellent work by these two gentlemen, and probably have edited all the other articles on the site. So, yeah, so that's that. And you can find me on MMA on Point and the Body Lock. So in the meantime,
hold on.
Yeah.
I want to shout out to Matt Wells.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because our buddy Matt Wells, he is the assistant managing editor at MMA Junkie right now. So the next time we have him on the show, we'll have royalty in the house, because we've had Simon on, and I'm proud. I'm really happy for him. That's fantastic.
I've got a bone to pick with Matt, because ever since he got this job, he has not answered my calls. He doesn't answer my texts. He leaves me on red.
That didn't take long.
Matt has become a diva already.
He's already turned on
Not
us.
really, Matt. Not really. Oh, so man, I was just hitting him up just a little while ago. But yeah, just happy as hell for Matt, man. He's gonna kick ass there. So very proud of Matt Wells, our friend and a frequent collaborator here on the
even more frequent now, because now Samano's going to delegate him to come see us.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay, Simon, if you're watching, yes, assign him to the show sometimes. All right, fellas. So that'll do it for this edition of Unleash. You know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. In the meantime, stay beautiful, stay positive. Stay doing something other than watching fights for a change, you losers, and stay sexy. I'll see you when I see you. Peace.